Welcome, dear listener. Tonight we'll drift together into the hidden wonders of the Proterozoic Eon, a vast chapter in Earth's ancient story that unfolded across nearly 2 billion years of our planet's youth. As your breath slows and deepens, imagine the night sky above you opening its quiet secrets, revealing layers of time stretching back through countless starlit nights. You don't need to follow every word tonight. Simply let this story carry you into rest, like a gentle current taking you downstream toward peaceful dreams. Your body knows how to relax, how to sink deeper into comfort with each passing moment. Feel your shoulders releasing their tension, your breathing becoming slower and more rhythmic, as natural as ocean waves meeting shore. Tonight, we journey not through space but through deep time itself, to an Earth that existed long before flowers bloomed, before forests grew, even before complex life as we know it took its first tentative steps. The Proterozoic Eon spans from about 2.5 billion years ago to 540 million years ago, a period so vast that it contains nearly half of all Earth's history. Close your eyes now if you haven't already, and let yourself imagine floating gently backward through time, past centuries, past millennia, past entire geological ages, until you arrive at this ancient world. A world of endless possibility, where the very foundations of life were being quietly, patiently laid down in primordial seas. Before we begin this peaceful journey together, I invite you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please comment below which country you're listening from and at what time. It brings me such joy to know that people around our beautiful planet are finding rest and wonder in these ancient stories. Now let your mind drift as we prepare to explore this mysterious eon when Earth was learning how to breathe oxygen, when the first complex cells were forming, and when the very chemistry of our planet was transforming in ways that would make all future life possible. Rest now as we begin our gentle voyage into deep time. Imagine yourself now floating gently downward through layers of time, each breath taking you deeper into Earth's distant past. The world around you shimmers and shifts like looking through clear water that reflects both sky and depths below. You are drifting toward an Earth that is 2.5 billion years old, an Earth in its middle childhood, having already survived the turbulent infancy of the Archean Eon. As you descend through this ocean of time, notice how the light changes, becoming softer, more diffused. This is not the harsh, alien light of Earth's earliest days, but something gentler, more familiar. The Proterozoic Earth had a sun much like ours, though slightly dimmer, casting its warm glow across vast, unbroken oceans that stretched from horizon to horizon. Feel yourself settling now into these ancient waters, warm and mineral-rich, tinted with subtle colors you've never quite seen before. These seas are not empty. Though no fish swim here, no whales sing in their depths, these waters pulse with invisible life. Microscopic organisms float around you like living stardust, each one a tiny miracle of chemistry and purpose. The water holds you with perfect buoyancy, supporting your body as completely as the softest bed. Here, in this primordial ocean, you are surrounded by the ancestors of all life, including your own distant relatives. Feel the connection across time, this ancient kinship with the very first complex cells that learn to cooperate, to share resources, to build something greater than themselves. Above you, the sky is a different shade of blue than the one you know, deeper and more mysterious. The atmosphere is still learning to hold the right balance of gases, still adjusting to the profound changes that began in the late Archean and continue now during these early Proterozoic days. The air itself is part of this great transformation, becoming richer, more life-sustaining with each passing millennium. No continents break the surface of these vast seas as you know them today. Instead, small land masses dot the ocean like sleeping giants, their shores gentle and unmarked by complex life. These protocontinents drift slowly across the planet's face, carried by the same forces that still move our continents today, but at a pace so gradual it seems like eternal stillness. As you float in this ancient embrace, feel your breathing synchronizing with the rhythm of these primordial tides, in and out as constant and reliable as the Earth's rotation itself. The Moon hangs closer in the Proterozoic sky, its gravitational pull creating stronger tides that sweep across the planet's surface like a cosmic heartbeat. This is a world of patience, dear listener, a world where change happens not in seasons or years, but in millions of years. Yet it is also a world of constant, subtle transformation. Every moment, microscopic organisms are learning new ways to capture energy, to reproduce, to survive. They are writing the first chapters of evolution's great story, and you are here to witness their gentle persistence. Let yourself sink deeper into these supporting waters, feeling held and safe. The Proterozoic ocean cradles you like a cosmic womb, warm with the heat of a young planet's core, rich with minerals dissolved from ancient rocks, alive with the endless creativity of emerging life. You belong here, in this space between sea and sky, between what was and what will become. As you continue floating in these ancient seas, something remarkable is happening all around you, so gradually and gently that it feels like watching a sunrise that lasts 1,000,000 years. The Proterozoic Eon is the time when Earth learned to breathe in a new way, when the very atmosphere was being transformed by tiny organisms too small to see, yet powerful enough to change the world forever. Feel the water around you and imagine it filled with countless microscopic gardeners, each one photosynthesizing, taking in carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen into the water and air above. These cyanobacteria, as we call them now, are like living solar panels, capturing sunlight and using it to create energy, releasing oxygen as their gentle gift to the world. This process is so peaceful, so quiet, yet it represents one of the most profound changes in Earth's history. With each breath you take in this imagined ancient world, you're breathing air that these tiny organisms are slowly, patiently creating. The great oxygenation event is continuing throughout the early Proterozoic, gradually building up the oxygen levels that will one day make complex life possible. Picture the sunlight filtering down through the water around you, golden and warm. Each photon of light that touches one of these microscopic organisms becomes part of this great transformation. Light becomes life. Life creates oxygen. Oxygen changes everything. It's like the Earth is learning to sing a new song, one note at a time, one breath at a time. But this transformation is not without its challenges. The increasing oxygen in the atmosphere is causing changes that ripple through every aspect of the planet. Iron in the oceans begins to rust, creating beautiful bands of red and orange minerals that will become some of Earth's most stunning rock formations. Imagine these colors swirling gently in the water around you like slow-motion auroras, rust red and amber gold, settling gradually to the ocean floor. These are the banded iron formations that geologists find today, layers upon layers of rust-colored stone that tell the story of Earth's changing breath. Each stripe represents countless years of chemical transformation, oxygen binding with iron, creating patterns of extraordinary beauty. You float above this slow-motion artwork, this collaboration between life and stone that will endure for billions of years. Feel your own breathing now, slow and steady, connecting you to this ancient process. Every breath you take contains oxygen created by processes just like these, by countless tiny organisms working together across millions of years. Your lungs are filled with the gift of ancient photosynthesis. Your bloodstream carries the legacy of these Proterozoic pioneers. The atmosphere above you is still thinner than the one you know, still finding its balance, but it grows richer with each passing century. Methane from volcanic activity mixes with the increasing oxygen, creating complex chemical dances in the upper atmosphere. Sometimes these create beautiful colors in the sky, like distant auroras painting the heavens in shades of green and gold. This is the world learning to support more complex forms of life, preparing the stage for the magnificent drama of evolution that will unfold in later eons. But for now, it is enough simply to float here, feeling the gentle progress of billions of microscopic workers, each contributing their small part to Earth's great transformation. Let the rhythm of photosynthesis match the rhythm of your breathing. Inflows carbon dioxide, outflows oxygen. Inflows sunlight, outflows energy. Inflows simplicity, outflows the growing complexity that will eventually give rise to every living thing you've ever known. You are witnessing the Earth's patient preparation for a future filled with forests and flowers, birds and butterflies, oceans teeming with life. Rest now in this knowledge, floating peacefully in these transforming seas, surrounded by the quiet industry of evolution's first great success story. Deeper now, drifting further into the Proterozoic story, you find yourself surrounded by one of life's greatest innovations. Around you, invisible to the naked eye but vital to everything that will follow, the first truly complex cells are forming. These are not the simple bacteria that dominated Earth's earlier chapters, but something new and wonderful. Cells with organized interiors, tiny cities of specialized parts working together. Imagine floating through a galaxy of these microscopic communities, each cell like a miniature world with its own neighborhoods and districts. These eukaryotic cells, as scientists call them, represent a revolution as profound as the development of cities in human history. For the first time, life has learned to organize itself into complex societies, even at the tiniest scale. Feel the gentle current carrying you among these cellular pioneers. Each one is a masterpiece of cooperation, containing smaller structures called organelles that work together like the organs in your own body. There are powerhouses that generate energy, libraries that store information, factories that build proteins, and transportation networks that move materials where they're needed. Some of these cells have learned an even more remarkable trick. They can capture sunlight directly, carrying within themselves the descendants of those photosynthetic bacteria we met earlier. These chloroplasts, as they'll come to be known, are like tiny green solar panels that allow their host cells to make their own food from sunlight and water. It's as if each cell carries its own personal sun, its own private garden. The water around you seems to shimmer with this invisible activity. Millions upon millions of these complex cells drift through the Proterozoic seas, each one a small miracle of organization and efficiency. They are so tiny that thousands could fit on the head of a pin, yet each one is more complex than the greatest cities of the ancient world. This cellular complexity is preparing the way for something even more wonderful, the first multicellular life. As you float peacefully through these ancient waters, some of these sophisticated cells are beginning to stick together, to work as teams, to become more than the sum of their parts. The very first steps toward plants and animals and fungi are being taken by these microscopic pioneers. Picture algae beginning to form the first simple colonies, cells linking themselves together like living chains, creating structures just barely large enough to see. These are Earth's first experiments in multicellular life, tentative and simple, but carrying within them the potential for every forest, every coral reef, every living thing that has ever grown from a single cell into something larger and more complex. The Proterozoic seas cradle these early experiments in cooperation. The water provides everything these cellular communities need: minerals, dissolved gases, protection from the harsh radiation that still penetrates Earth's developing atmosphere. It's like a cosmic nursery, perfectly designed to nurture life's growing complexity. As you continue to drift through this microscopic wonderland, feel your own body's cellular activity slowing, relaxing, settling into the same patient rhythm as these ancient pioneers. Your cells, descended from these very organisms, know this peaceful pace. They remember, in their deepest chemical memory, what it was like to float in warm, supporting seas, working together, building complexity one gentle step at a time. The Proterozoic Eon stretches ahead and behind you nearly 2 billion years of slow, steady progress. There is no hurry here, no urgency. Evolution works on geological time, where 1 million years is but a moment, where changes too subtle to perceive in a human lifetime accumulate into transformations that reshape the world. Breathe with the rhythm of these ancient seas, in and out, feeling yourself becoming part of this vast, patient story. You are floating in the middle chapters of Earth's biography, surrounded by the ancestors of every living thing, witnessing the quiet revolution that made complex life possible. Let this ancient peace carry you deeper into rest, knowing that you are part of this continuing story, this great community of life that began in these very waters billions of years ago. As you float deeper into the Proterozoic story, the waters around you begin to reveal their first gentle mystery. Something strange and wonderful is happening in these ancient seas, something that will puzzle scientists for generations to come. The microscopic world around you is beginning to show signs of an extraordinary event, the first mass extinction in Earth's history, but not one caused by asteroids or volcanoes. This mystery unfolds so slowly that it seems like a dream within a dream. The oxygen that those tiny photosynthetic organisms have been patiently producing for hundreds of millions of years is now reaching levels that are toxic to many of the anaerobic bacteria that have dominated Earth since its birth. It's as if the world is learning to breathe a new kind of breath, one that brings life to some and transformation to others. Imagine yourself witnessing this great transition as you would watch seasons change, but stretched across millions of years. The ancient bacteria that thrived in Earth's oxygen-free youth are retreating to deep ocean trenches, to muddy sediments, to the hidden places where oxygen cannot reach. They are not disappearing entirely, but learning to live in Earth's secret spaces, becoming part of the planet's hidden ecosystem. This is life's first great lesson in adaptation, played out in the gentle waters that cradle you. Some organisms learn to use oxygen as a tool, turning it into energy more efficiently than ever before. Others find new homes in Earth's oxygen-free refuges. Still others undergo the ultimate cooperation, allowing oxygen-using bacteria to live inside them, creating the complex partnerships that will eventually give rise to all complex life. Feel the water around you pulsing with this invisible drama. It's not violent or sudden, but patient and profound, like watching a forest slowly change from one type of trees to another over centuries. The chemistry of the seas themselves is shifting, becoming more oxidized, creating new possibilities for mineral formation, for chemical reactions, for the building blocks of future life forms. The iron in these ancient oceans is rusting away, binding with oxygen to create those beautiful banded formations we glimpsed earlier. Imagine them settling around you like slow-motion snow, layers of red and orange and gold sinking gently to the ocean floor. Each band represents thousands of years of chemical transformation, the Earth literally changing color as it learns to live with oxygen. This great oxygenation is also affecting the very rocks beneath the ocean floor. Sulfur isotopes in ancient minerals tell the story of an atmosphere in transition, learning new chemical balances, developing the complex cycles that will eventually regulate Earth's climate for billions of years to come. You float above this grand transformation, witness to the planet's greatest chemistry experiment. But perhaps most mysterious of all is what this oxygenation means for the future. The organisms around you cannot know that they are creating the conditions necessary for eyes that can see, for brains that can think, for hearts that can feel. They are simply living, breathing, reproducing, following their basic instincts for survival. Yet their collective actions are writing the opening chapters of a story that will include every sunset you've ever watched, every flower you've ever smelled, every song you've ever heard. This is the gentle mystery of the Proterozoic. How simple organisms working without plan or purpose beyond their own survival created the conditions for complexity and beauty beyond imagining. How the waste product of ancient bacteria became the breath of life for everything that would follow. How Earth's greatest environmental crisis became the foundation for its greatest triumphs. Let this mystery wash over you like a warm current. You don't need to understand every detail, only to feel the wonder of it, the patient way that life transforms catastrophe into opportunity, simplicity into complexity, survival into beauty. The ancient bacteria around you are writing poetry in chemical reactions, composing symphonies in mineral formations, painting masterpieces in microscopic cooperation. Rest now in this gentle mystery, floating peacefully in waters that hold both ending and beginning, destruction and creation, the patient wisdom of evolution, learning to turn every challenge into new forms of wonder. The Proterozoic waters that hold you move to rhythms older than music, deeper than sound. As you drift through these ancient seas, feel your heartbeat beginning to synchronize with the pulse of the Earth itself. The planet beneath you breathes in geological time, its continents shifting like sleeping giants, its magnetic field flickering and reversing in patterns that span millions of years. This is the era of the supercontinent cycle, when Earth's land masses gather together like old friends meeting at appointed times, then drift apart again on currents of molten rock. Imagine the slow dance of continents beneath these waters, so gradual that a human lifetime would capture no movement at all, yet so powerful that it shapes the face of the world. The supercontinent Rodinia is beginning to assemble during your journey through Proterozoic time. Picture massive pieces of the Earth's crust gliding together across millions of years, creating mountain ranges as they collide, generating new ocean basins as they pull apart. This continental choreography affects everything: ocean currents, climate patterns, the distribution of nutrients that feed the microscopic life around you. Feel the rhythm of these geological processes matching the rhythm of your breathing. Inhale as continents approach each other across vast oceanic distances. Exhale as they collide and create new mountain ranges. Inhale as they rest in temporary stability. Exhale as they begin their next slow journey toward separation and renewal. Your body knows this rhythm because it is built into the very atoms that compose you, forged in ancient stars and recycled through countless geological cycles. The tides around you pulse with extraordinary power, driven by a moon that hangs much closer to Earth than the one you know. These stronger tides create more dramatic mixing of the oceans, stirring nutrients from the depths, bringing fresh minerals to the surface waters where photosynthetic organisms can use them. The tidal rhythm is like a planetary heartbeat, circulating the life-giving elements throughout Earth's vast circulatory system. As you float in this ancient embrace, the water itself tells stories written in chemistry. Trace elements dissolved from weathering continents carry information about climates and erosion patterns across millions of years. The ocean is a vast library, its dissolved minerals holding the memory of countless storms, countless seasons, countless years of sunshine and rain. Sometimes the climate grows cold during your Proterozoic journey, and ice begins to form at the poles, then spreads toward the equator. These are not brief ice ages measured in thousands of years, but glacial periods that last for millions of years, transforming the entire planet into what scientists call snowball Earth. Yet even in these frozen times, life persists in hidden refuges, waiting patiently for the ice to retreat, for warmth to return. Feel the slow cycling between ice and warmth as another rhythm in Earth's ancient symphony. Cold periods followed by warm periods, contraction followed by expansion, challenge followed by recovery. These climate cycles are driven by changes in the atmosphere, by the position of continents, by variations in the sun's output, all working together in patterns too complex for any single mind to fully comprehend. Your own body temperature responds to this ancient rhythm, cooling slightly as you imagine the ice ages, warming gently as the glaciers retreat. Even in sleep, your body remembers these planetary rhythms because they are written into the genetic heritage you share with every organism that survived these great transitions. The magnetic field above you flickers and dances, sometimes weakening to nearly nothing, sometimes reversing its polarity entirely. This invisible shield protects the atmosphere from solar wind, preserving the oxygen that life has worked so hard to create. When the magnetic field weakens, auroras dance closer to the equator, painting the sky with colors that no human eyes have ever seen. Volcanic activity pulses through the ocean floor beneath you, following its own deep rhythms. Hot springs and underwater volcanoes release minerals and gases that feed chemical processes essential to early life. The Earth's internal heat engine drives these cycles, powered by radioactive decay and the slow cooling of the planet's molten core. All these rhythms work together like instruments in a cosmic orchestra, the heartbeat of tides, the breathing of climate cycles, the slow drumbeat of continental drift, the occasional cymbal crash of volcanic activity. You float at the center of this ancient symphony, your own biological rhythms gradually synchronizing with Earth's geological rhythms, finding peace in patterns that connect the very small with the very large, the momentary with the eternal. Now you drift into the quiet spaces of Proterozoic time, those long, peaceful intervals between Earth's dramatic changes. These are the spaces that make up most of geological history, the patient millennia when nothing seems to happen, yet everything is being prepared. You don't need to stay fully awake for this part of the journey, dear listener. Let the story continue around you as you sink deeper into rest. Imagine yourself floating in the middle of one of these quiet periods, perhaps 1.5 billion years ago, when the great oxygenation has settled into a steady rhythm and complex cells have established their place in the world. But the explosion of multicellular life is still hundreds of millions of years in the future. This is a time of consolidation, of gradual refinement, of life-learning patience. The microscopic world around you continues its slow innovations, but at a pace that matches the rhythm of deep sleep. New species of bacteria and simple eukaryotes arise, persist for millions of years, then fade away or evolve into something else. But these changes happen so gradually that they seem like the imperceptible growth of mountains, the equally imperceptible wearing away of ancient stone. Feel yourself sinking deeper into the supporting embrace of these patient waters. The ocean holds you with perfect stability, its chemistry balanced, its temperature regulated by currents that circle the globe in patterns established over millions of years. This is not the chaotic sea of Earth's violent youth, but a mature ocean that has learned to nurture and sustain complex communities of life. The seafloor beneath you accumulates sediments grain by grain, layer by layer, like pages being added to Earth's geological diary. Each layer holds the microscopic shells and remains of countless organisms, preserving their stories for future scientists to discover billions of years later. You are floating above future fossils, future rocks, future mountains that will rise from these ocean depths long after you have returned to the elements from which you came. Stromatolites grow slowly in the shallow waters near distant shores, built by communities of cyanobacteria that work together to create living reefs. These bacterial cities rise like underwater cathedrals, built not by conscious design, but by the simple process of microorganisms following their basic needs for light and nutrients. They create structures that will endure for millions of years, some destined to become the oldest visible fossils that future paleontologists will find. The atmosphere above these quiet seas continues its slow evolution, finding new equilibriums between oxygen and carbon dioxide, between greenhouse gases and cooling influences. Cloud patterns shift gradually across the face of the planet, driven by the slow changes in ocean currents as continents drift to new positions. Sometimes these changes bring ice ages that last for millions of years. Sometimes they bring warm periods when life flourishes, even at the poles. This is deep time, the kind of time that makes human history seem like a single breath. Civilizations could rise and fall 1,000 times during the span of a typical Proterozoic epoch. Yet from the perspective of these ancient seas, such brief fluctuations would be barely noticeable. Only the very slow processes matter here: evolution, mountain building, climate change measured in millions of years. Let yourself match the pace of this deep time, allowing your thoughts to slow, your breathing to deepen, your awareness to spread out across vast expanses of patience. In these quiet intervals, life is learning lessons that cannot be rushed. How to build stable communities, how to cooperate across species boundaries, how to survive changes that unfold across geological ages. Your own cells remember this patience, this ability to work steadily toward distant goals without hurry or anxiety. They carry in their molecular structure the memory of billions of years of gradual progress, of problems solved not through sudden inspiration but through countless small improvements accumulated across unimaginable spans of time. The quiet spaces between dramatic events are where most of evolution's work actually happens. The spectacular moments, the mass extinctions and evolutionary explosions that capture our imagination are possible only because of the patient groundwork laid during these peaceful interludes. Life learns its most important lessons, not in crisis but in calm. Not through dramatic changes, but through steady persistence. Rest now in this vast quiet, knowing that you are part of this same patient process, this same gradual journey toward greater complexity and beauty. The story will continue even as you sleep, carrying you forward through deep time on currents that have flowed for billions of years. Drifting deeper into Proterozoic dreams, you begin to sense echoes of the great atmospheric storms that shaped this ancient world. But these are not the brief tempests you know from your own time. These are storms that last for millions of years, climate patterns that persist for geological ages, weather systems driven by forces so vast and slow that they seem more like the breathing of planets than anything recognizable as weather. The Proterozoic atmosphere above you swirls with methane and oxygen in proportions that create chemistry impossible in your modern world. When lightning strikes in this ancient air, it triggers chemical reactions that paint the sky in colors for which you have no names. Imagine aurora-like displays that last for centuries, driven not just by solar activity but by the complex interactions between an evolving atmosphere and a changing magnetic field. These atmospheric storms are connected to everything else in ways both obvious and subtle. Changes in air chemistry affect the growth rates of photosynthetic organisms, which in turn affect oxygen production, which influences climate, which shifts ocean currents, which redistributes nutrients, which changes the evolutionary pressures on microscopic life. Everything is connected in vast, slow cycles that span continents and eons. Feel the gentle turbulence of these ancient weather patterns as they flow through the water around you. The boundaries between air and sea are more fluid in this primordial world, with atmospheric chemistry affecting ocean chemistry in direct ways that will become more buffered and complex in later eons. You float at the interface between these two great systems, feeling their slow exchange of gases and energy. Sometimes these atmospheric changes trigger what geologists call snowball Earth events, when glaciers advance from both poles simultaneously, covering most of the planet in ice up to a kilometer thick. These are storms of cold that last for tens of millions of years, yet life persists in refugia around hot springs, under the ice, in deep ocean waters that never freeze completely. During snowball Earth periods, the planet becomes a vast white mirror, reflecting most of the sun's energy back to space and maintaining its own frozen state through positive feedback loops. Yet even in these seemingly lifeless times, volcanic activity continues to add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, slowly building up greenhouse conditions that will eventually melt the ice and restore liquid oceans. The melting of a snowball Earth creates storms of warmth and productivity that reshape evolution itself. As the ice retreats, newly exposed minerals weather rapidly in the warming climate, flooding the oceans with nutrients that trigger explosions of biological activity. These are the times when evolution takes its greatest leaps, when new forms of life experiment with previously impossible ways of being. You float through the memory of these great transitions, feeling in the water around you the chemical signatures of ancient thaws and freezes. Iron oxidation accelerates during the warm periods, creating pulses of red sediment that band the seafloor in layers that geologists will study billions of years later. Each band tells the story of climate change on a scale that dwarfs anything in human experience. The carbon cycle during the Proterozoic operates on timescales that make human climate concerns seem almost instantaneous. Carbon dioxide levels rise and fall over millions of years as weathering rates change with temperature and continental configuration. Volcanic outgassing adds carbon to the atmosphere in pulses that correspond to periods of increased tectonic activity, while photosynthesis and rock weathering remove it at rates determined by biology and climate. These ancient carbon cycles create feedback loops that help stabilize Earth's climate over geological time, yet they also allow for dramatic shifts when conditions reach tipping points. The planet learns to regulate its own temperature through these vast biogeochemical cycles, developing the complex climate system that will eventually allow for stable conditions conducive to complex life. Your own breathing participates in this ancient cycle, taking in air that connects you to every photosynthetic organism that ever lived, every volcanic eruption that ever occurred, every rock that ever weathered in ancient rains. The oxygen in your lungs carries the molecular memory of Proterozoic seas. The carbon you exhale may have been part of the atmosphere during these ancient storms. Let the rhythm of these vast cycles match the rhythm of your increasingly relaxed breathing. In and out, like ice ages advancing and retreating. In and out, like carbon cycling between atmosphere and ocean. In and out, like the patient pulse of a planet learning to sustain life across billions of years. Rest now in this ancient rhythm, knowing that you are part of this same great circulation, this same patient dance between earth and air and sea. In the deepest part of your journey through Proterozoic time, you begin to understand something profound about the pace of change. Around you, the very minerals are evolving, learning to form new crystals, new partnerships, new ways of organizing matter that have never existed before in Earth's history. This happens so slowly that you could watch for a human lifetime and see no change at all. Yet the cumulative effect reshapes the planet's entire chemistry. The water that holds you is rich with dissolved elements weathered from continents that are themselves still young. Iron and silicon, sulfur and carbon, magnesium and calcium, all swimming together in solution, waiting for the right conditions to precipitate into new mineral forms. Some of these minerals will not appear anywhere else in the universe except on planets where life has learned to manipulate chemistry on a global scale. Feel yourself floating through this vast chemical laboratory, where time is the most patient scientist, conducting experiments that span millions of years. The pressure changes slowly as continents rise and fall. The temperature fluctuates gently as greenhouse gases accumulate and dissipate. The pH of the ocean shifts gradually as the balance between carbonic acid and biological processes finds new equilibriums. This is the era when Earth learns to create what geologists call red beds, layers of sedimentary rock colored by iron oxides that could only form in an oxygenated world. The rust-red minerals settle around you like snow falling upward through water, each particle a tiny monument to the great oxygenation event that has transformed the planet's chemistry forever. Imagine the microscopic organisms around you as mineral artists, creating structures from dissolved elements with the same patience that coral reefs grow in modern seas. Some bacteria learn to precipitate calcium carbonate, building tiny shells that will become limestone mountains. Others learn to manipulate silica, creating delicate glass sculptures that will preserve their forms for billions of years. The banded iron formations that characterize much of Proterozoic geology are still forming in the deeper waters around you, though their heyday is passing as free oxygen becomes more abundant in the atmosphere. These alternating layers of iron-rich and iron-poor minerals create some of Earth's most beautiful and economically important rock formations, striped in reds and blacks and silvers like abstract paintings on a continental scale. Deep beneath the ocean floor, heat and pressure are creating the first complex metamorphic rocks as simpler minerals are transformed into new forms through the slow alchemy of geological processes. Granite batholiths cool slowly in the continental crust, their large crystals testimony to the patient passage of millions of years. Each grain of quartz, each flake of mica, each crystal of feldspar grows according to laws of chemistry and physics that operate on timescales measured in millennia. The rhythm of mineral formation matches the deepest rhythms of your sleeping body, the slow circulation of blood through your organs, the gradual replacement of cells throughout your tissues, the patient rebuilding of bone and muscle that happens continuously but imperceptibly. Your body is engaged in its own version of mineral evolution, constantly creating and dissolving calcium phosphate in your bones, maintaining the delicate chemistry of your cells through processes that echo these ancient seas. Volcanic activity provides the heat engine that drives much of this mineral evolution. Deep beneath the ocean floor, magma chambers cool slowly, allowing complex minerals to crystallize in sequences that tell stories about temperature and pressure and chemical composition. These plutonic rocks will one day be uplifted into mountain ranges, exposing their mineral treasures to the weathering that will send their elements back to the sea, continuing cycles that began billions of years ago and continue today. Some of the rarest and most beautiful minerals are forming during this time, gems and crystals that will be treasured by future civilizations for their beauty and utility. Gold concentrates in hydrothermal veins, silver deposits form in volcanic environments, copper minerals precipitate in specific chemical conditions that exist only during certain phases of Earth's evolution. The planet is learning to organize its elements in ways that create both beauty and utility. Let yourself drift deeper into this mineral meditation, feeling your body's own mineral composition, the calcium in your teeth and bones, the iron in your blood, the trace elements that make your nervous system function. You are made of star stuff that has been recycled through countless generations of rocks and minerals, processed by billions of years of geological activity, refined by the patient chemistry of deep time. The space between changes grows longer here, measured not in years but in geological periods. Rest in these vast intervals, knowing that important work is being done even when nothing seems to be happening. The minerals around you are laying down the foundation for future mountain ranges, future ore deposits, future soils that will support future forests. This is the deep preparation that makes all surface drama possible. The tides that rock you gently in these Proterozoic seas are not just the familiar rhythm of moon and sun pulling at the waters. They are tides of deep time itself, the slow oscillations between stability and change that characterize geological history. You float now in the quiet spaces between these vast tidal movements, feeling the pull of forces that operate on scales so large they seem more like natural laws than events. The closest thing to these deep time tides in your human experience would be the cycle of seasons, but stretched across millions of years. Imagine spring lasting for geological ages, a gradual warming and awakening that allows new forms of life to experiment and flourish. Then summer, equally long when established ecosystems reach their full complexity and stability. Autumn brings slow changes that prepare life for the challenges ahead, and winter represents the ice ages and extinction events that clear the way for the next great cycle. But even this comparison fails to capture the true nature of geological time. These are tides that lift entire mountain ranges above sea level, then wear them down grain by grain back to the ocean floor. They are rhythms that see continents born, mature, fragment, and reassemble in new configurations. They operate on scales where the formation of a single major river system represents a brief moment, where the evolution of entire groups of organisms is merely a single wave in an ocean of change. Feel yourself riding these deep tides like a leaf on a vast, slow river. Sometimes the current carries you toward periods of stability when Earth's systems find temporary equilibrium and life settles into patterns that persist for tens of millions of years. These are the quiet eddies in time's flow, the peaceful backwaters where evolution can work patiently on small improvements and refinements. Other times, the tide carries you toward periods of change when shifting continents or atmospheric chemistry or astronomical cycles combine to push Earth's systems past tipping points. These are not catastrophic moments in the human sense, but gradual transitions that unfold over millions of years, allowing lifetime to adapt, migrate, evolve new strategies for survival. The moon above you pulls at these ancient seas with much greater force than the moon you know. Earth rotates faster in Proterozoic time, spinning through days that last only about 20 hours, creating stronger Coriolis effects that influence ocean currents and atmospheric circulation in ways that have no modern analog. The tidal bulges raised by this closer moon create more dramatic mixing of the oceans, more efficient circulation of nutrients and dissolved gases. These stronger tides also create larger tidal zones along the shores of Proterozoic continents, vast mudflats that are alternately exposed and submerged according to cycles that span not just hours, but years and decades. Some scientists speculate that these extensive tidal environments may have been crucial to the evolution of complex life, providing the variable conditions that encouraged organisms to develop new strategies for survival. The gravitational dance between Earth and Moon is itself slowly changing, as tidal friction gradually slows Earth's rotation and pushes the Moon into a higher orbit. This is a tide that operates on the grandest scale of all, the slow evolution of the Earth-Moon system itself. Each day becomes slightly longer, each year slightly shorter, as rotational energy is transferred from planet to satellite through the invisible threads of gravitational force. Your own biological tides respond to these ancient rhythms. The circadian cycles that regulate your sleep and waking, your body temperature and hormone production carry genetic memories of Earth's faster rotation and shorter days. Your cells remember when the rhythm of light and darkness pulsed more quickly, when the gravitational environment was subtly different, when life moved to different drummers than the ones that set the tempo for modern existence. The chemical tides in these ancient oceans create cycles of concentration and dilution that drive mineral formation and biological processes in regular patterns. Elements essential to life become more concentrated in certain zones and seasons, creating opportunities for organisms that can time their reproduction and growth to take advantage of these chemical abundances. The rocks forming beneath the ocean floor carry connections across time, preserving chemical signatures that will tell future geologists about atmospheric composition, climate patterns, and biological productivity billions of years in the past. These sedimentary archives are libraries written in stone, their pages accumulating grain by grain, layer by layer, creating records that will survive long after the organisms that created them have evolved into forms unrecognizable to their ancestors. Even the space between things carries connections, quantum fields that link every particle to every other particle across distances both infinitesimal and cosmic. The vacuum itself pulses with virtual particles that pop in and out of existence, creating a background of energy that connects the emptiness between atoms to the emptiness between galaxies in patterns that modern physics is only beginning to understand. Your consciousness participates in these same connections, patterns of electrical and chemical activity that arose from the same evolutionary processes that produced every nervous system that ever existed. The neurons firing in your sleeping brain follow pathways established by millions of years of evolution, yet they also create entirely new patterns of connection that have never existed before and will never exist again. Let these whispered connections flow through your awareness like gentle currents, carrying you deeper into the understanding that nothing exists in isolation, that every breath connects you to the breathing of ancient seas, that every heartbeat participates in rhythms established by the first cells that learn to maintain themselves in the face of entropy and change. As your journey through Proterozoic time draws toward its close, a gentle inspiration begins to emerge from the depths of these ancient stories. Not the sudden lightning flash of insight, but the slow sunrise of understanding that comes from patient communion with deep time. The lessons of the Proterozoic reveal themselves gradually, like the first light of dawn touching the surface of primordial seas. The greatest teaching of this ancient eon is patience itself. In a world where human concerns unfold across years and decades, the Proterozoic offers the profound wisdom of processes that require millions of years to complete. The great oxygenation that transformed Earth's atmosphere happened so gradually that no individual organism could have perceived the change, yet collectively, through the simple act of following their basic biological functions, tiny bacteria reshaped the entire planet. This is the inspiration that flows from deep time, that the most profound changes arise not from dramatic interventions, but from persistent, gentle action sustained across unimaginable spans of time. Every breath those ancient cyanobacteria took, every moment of photosynthesis, every cell division contributed to a transformation so vast it changed the chemistry of stone, the composition of the atmosphere, the very possibility of complex life. Feel this inspiration settling into your consciousness like sediment settling to the ocean floor, becoming part of the foundation upon which your understanding rests. The problems that seem insurmountable in human time become manageable when viewed from the perspective of geological time. The changes that seem impossible to achieve in a single lifetime become inevitable when sustained across many lifetimes, many generations, many eras. The microscopic organisms around you in these ancient seas knew nothing of their destiny, had no plan for creating oxygen-rich atmospheres or complex ecosystems. They simply lived moment by moment, doing what life does, seeking energy, reproducing, adapting to changing conditions. Yet their collective persistence across millions of years created the foundation for every forest that would ever grow, every animal that would ever breathe, every consciousness that would ever contemplate the stars. This is perhaps the most inspiring lesson of the Proterozoic, that purpose and meaning can emerge from processes that operate without conscious intention. The bacteria that oxygenated the atmosphere were not trying to prepare the way for complex life, yet their simple persistence across geological time created conditions that made all future complexity possible. They teach us that our own small actions, repeated faithfully over time, may contribute to transformations we cannot imagine. The cooperation between different types of cells that occurred during the Proterozoic, the endosymbiosis that created the first complex eukaryotic cells, demonstrates another profound truth, that the greatest advances often come not from competition, but from learning to work together. When ancient bacteria learned to live inside other cells, sharing resources and capabilities, they created possibilities that neither could have achieved alone. Your own body carries this lesson in every cell, where ancient bacterial partners work alongside more recent evolutionary innovations to maintain the complex chemistry of life. The mitochondria that power your cells are descendants of bacteria that learned to cooperate so completely with their hosts that they became permanent partners, sharing DNA, sharing resources, sharing destiny across billions of years. The slow cycles that govern Proterozoic Earth, climate oscillations that lasted for millions of years, magnetic field reversals that occurred across geological ages, demonstrate the profound stability that underlies apparent change. The same forces that operate today, the same physical laws, the same chemical principles, have maintained their reliability across billions of years of planetary history. This cosmic consistency offers deep comfort, the reassurance that beneath the surface turbulence of daily experience, fundamental patterns persist with mathematical precision. The same gravitational forces that created tides in Proterozoic seas create the tides you know today. The same solar fusion that energized ancient photosynthesis provides the energy for modern life. The same carbon cycle that regulated ancient climates continues to connect all living things in an endless circulation of elements and energy. Let this gentle inspiration flow through your rest like a warm current, carrying with it the profound peace that comes from recognizing your place in the vast story of existence. You are not separate from the ancient processes that created the conditions for your existence, but part of their continuing unfoldment, a brief flowering of consciousness in the ongoing evolution of complexity and beauty. The patience of the Proterozoic becomes your patience. The persistence of ancient life becomes your persistence. The cooperation that created complex cells becomes your capacity for connection and community. These are not metaphors, but literal truths written into the very atoms of your being by billions of years of evolutionary history. In the quiet closing moments of your journey through Proterozoic time, one final mystery emerges from the depths, gentle as the first breath of a sleeping child, profound as the space between heartbeats. This mystery cannot be solved or explained, only experienced in the wordless wisdom of a consciousness that has learned to think in geological time, to feel with the patience of stone, to breathe with the rhythm of ancient seas. The mystery is this: how does simplicity become complexity? How do separate things learn to work together? How does the unconscious creativity of evolution produce results that seem conscious, purposeful, beautiful beyond measure? The Proterozoic Eon demonstrates this mystery in its purest form, showing us billions of years of transformation that seems both random and directed, both chaotic and perfectly ordered. In the beginning of the Proterozoic, Earth was a world of single cells, each one isolated in its own membrane, competing for resources, reproducing when possible, dying when necessary. By the end of this vast eon, complex cells had learned to work together. Multicellular organisms were beginning to experiment with entirely new ways of being, and the stage was set for the explosion of diversity that would characterize all future life. Yet no one planned this transformation. No intelligence designed the progression from simple to complex. No consciousness guided the evolution of cooperation from competition. The mystery is that unconscious processes following nothing but the simple rules of chemistry and physics created patterns of organization and beauty that surpass anything human consciousness has ever conceived. Feel this mystery settling around you like the deepest possible peace, the recognition that you are part of something far greater than your individual understanding, something that operates according to principles more profound than logic, more reliable than human intention, more creative than conscious design. You float in the heart of this mystery, held by forces that have maintained their perfect operation across billions of years. The ancient seas around you whisper of this mystery in their chemical conversations, their slow circulation of elements, their patient nurturing of life's endless experiments with new forms of organization. Every molecule of water carries information about past transformations and future possibilities. Yet the ultimate source of this creativity remains beyond the reach of analysis, explanation, or control. This is not a mystery that creates anxiety or confusion, but one that offers the deepest possible relaxation, the peace that comes from recognizing that you don't need to understand everything, control everything, or solve every puzzle. Some mysteries are meant to be lived rather than solved, experienced rather than explained, trusted rather than analyzed. Your own existence participates in this same mystery. The consciousness that allows you to contemplate these ancient stories arose through the same unconscious processes that created complex cells, oxygenated atmospheres, and all the conditions necessary for life as you know it. Your capacity for wonder, for rest, for connection with stories that span billions of years is itself part of the ongoing evolution of complexity and beauty. The mystery extends through time in both directions. Just as we cannot fully explain how simplicity became complexity in the past, we cannot predict what new forms of organization and beauty will emerge in the future. Evolution continues its patient work, following rules. We can observe, but origins we cannot fathom, creating possibilities we cannot imagine through processes we cannot control. Let yourself rest completely in this mystery, releasing any need to understand or explain, allowing yourself to be held by forces that have operated with perfect reliability since the birth of time itself. You are safe in this not knowing, supported by processes that require no conscious intervention, guided by wisdom that predates all human understanding. The final mystery of the Proterozoic is also its greatest gift, the recognition that consciousness is not separate from the unconscious processes that created it, that intelligence is not different from the intelligence that built atoms and molecules and cells, that the awareness reading these words is part of the same creative force that learned to split water molecules with sunlight and create oxygen from nothing but chemistry and time. In this deepest recognition, the boundary between self and cosmos dissolves, leaving only the gentle breathing of existence itself, the slow pulse of transformation that connects the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, the briefest moment to the longest eon, the individual consciousness to the creative intelligence that underlies all existence. Rest now in this ultimate mystery, knowing that you don't need to solve it, only trust it, breathe with it, allow it to carry you into whatever dreams await in the vast spaces of sleep and time. Tonight, dear listener, you have drifted through the Proterozoic Eon, resting inside its quiet truths and ancient mysteries. You have floated in seas that existed billions of years before the first flower bloomed, witnessed the patient transformation that created the very air you breathe, felt the gentle persistence of life learning its first lessons in cooperation and complexity. In these ancient waters, you have remembered something your body has always known, that you are part of a story far larger than individual existence, connected to processes that operate with patience beyond measure, held by forces that have never wavered in their creative purpose. The same elements that composed those primordial seas flow through your veins. the same energy that powered ancient photosynthesis beats in your heart. The same creative intelligence that learned to build complex cells from simple ones continues to work through your own consciousness, your own capacity for wonder and connection. The lessons of deep time are now part of your rest, the wisdom of patience, the power of persistence, the beauty that emerges from simple actions sustained across vast spans of time. These truths will continue to work in your dreams, in your quiet moments, in the spaces between thoughts where the deepest transformations occur. May your dreams tonight carry you even deeper into the peace of ancient seas, the patience of geological time, the gentle creativity that transforms simple into complex, separate into connected, individual into universal. May you rest in the knowledge that the same forces that created the conditions for all life continue to support and sustain you, requiring nothing from you but the simple act of being, breathing, existing as part of the vast web of relationship that connects all things across all time. If this journey through deep time has brought you peace, you are welcome to return here anytime, to drift again through these ancient waters, to remember your place in the great story of existence that began in primordial seas and continues in your own quiet breathing, your own patient heartbeat, your own gentle participation in the ongoing evolution of consciousness and beauty. Sleep well, knowing that you are held by the same patient forces that have cradled life for billions of years, that your rest tonight participates in the same ancient rhythm that has sustained existence since the first complex cells learned to trust each other enough to build something greater than themselves. The ancient waters hold you still. The story continues in your dreams. Rest now in the peace of deep time, where all transformations begin with a single breath, sustained with infinite patience, completed in the fullness of geological ages. Sweet dreams, dear traveler through time. Sweet dreams.